I've heard heated arguments between various types of believers over whether God is a man or a woman.
Let's explore this, but keep in mind, we have very little information because no one could know anything about God because he, or she, is invisible, and never reveals himself or herself to any of us. Here we go nonetheless. So what would it mean if God was a male or a female? Sex is defined as the male or female division of a species, especially as differentiated with reference to the reproductive functions. It is also defined as the sum of structural and functional differences by which the male and female are distinguished, or the phenomena or behavior dependent on these differences. There are several other definitions of gender and sex, but they all have one thing in common. They relate to the physical or social differences that drive the division of male and female within a species. Assigning genders to gods makes sense in a polytheistic setting, but what about with the God of Abraham? Being a monotheistic God means that you are alone by definition, one of a kind. Could a monotheistic God be a male or a female? No, of course not. There are no others for him or her to pair up with. What use would a monotheistic God have for genitals? If God had traits that would make him lean one way or the other, who would those traits be compared against? It doesn't make sense, does it? So why does everyone think God has a gender? The God described in the Bible not only has man-like traits, but he specifically has Bronze Age warlord-like traits. He is very strong and powerful in battle. He is jealous, quick to anger. He desires blood sacrifices. He is racist. He routinely orders the destruction of entire cities. He makes mistakes. He is easily offended. And he takes good care of his tribes so long as they stay in line. So the fact is, none of his traits would be beyond the imagination of Bronze Age warlords. Blood sacrifices and stoning to death for working on the Sabbath fell out of fashion by the time the New Testament was written, and thus, those things were removed from God's character. Unfortunately, being male chauvinist remained part of his character until much later. God, as defined by most of today's Christians, is not a racist or a chauvinist. The point I am making is that the God of the Bible has the fingerprints of his creators all over his personality. Yahweh was created in the imaginations of men like Moses and Samuel, in much the same way as the Greeks created Zeus and Poseidon, the Egyptians created Ra, the Hindus created Brahma, the Norse created Thor, the Romans created Jupiter, the Muslims created Allah, the Mayans created Akinchil, the Aztecs created Tonatiuh, the Celts created Govanon, the Africans created Ishu, the Iroquois created Diohako, the Inuits created Anguta, etc., 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 etc. Each one of these gods reflected the traits of the cultures that created them. I think that more gods will be created and worshipped in the future to suit our needs once everyone figures out that our current gods are not real. Given the modern trend of more women graduating in universities, it is likely that the next round of gods will in fact be women. The purpose of this channel is to get you to ask yourself these two questions. Number 1, how strong is your faith? Number 2, why?